Welcome to the second week of What Do I Really Think? And I've got some ideas today to share with you that are really clear to me. However, putting them into words, let's see how well I'm going to be able to do that. So last week's video, I talked about the conflict in Israel and Gaza and just generally I would say my philosophy on how I relate to conflict and some things that I think can be done. So I want to offer a follow-up on that, and I also want to talk about the philosophy, but also invite you into an experience of shared reality and why that's even important, and why there are some people that actually disagree that there is a shared reality or shared truth to begin with, and why I think that can be dangerous. So someone I look up to for learning and making sense of the world is I consider him a social philosopher. I don't know what role he calls himself exactly. His name's Daniel Schmachtenberger. And I asked this guy, I said, Daniel, I just sent him a message on Facebook, actually. I said, I'm reading through he has different book suggestions on his website. There's like 50 of them. They're all very good, incredible books. I haven't read all of them, but anyway, I said to him, I'm working my way through these books. Is there anything else that you would recommend for a young person who's trying to, in a holistic way, make sense of the world, make sense of what's happening in the world, personally, politically, spiritually, financially, in all the ways? And he said something that I thought was very interesting. He said, paraphrasing, find people that have a well-researched viewpoint that disagree with me. And the value of this, I think, goes so deep in our current day and age. I believe that to some degree, social media, I think that's actually the main driver for this, is making it so people disagree. People are being kind of split off, polarized in different groups, and the other is someone that we say, oh, I can never talk to that person because they believe this, or because they believe this means X, Y, and Z about them. And I think what Daniel is inviting me into, and what he's encouraging, and I could do far more of it than I have done, insofar as me taking his advice. He's encouraging me, and I believe I've heard him say this publicly as well, he's encouraging people in general to be in a dialogue with someone else in a way that we can actually hear the other person, listen to the other person. We don't have to agree with them. We don't have to see the world the way that they see it, but I feel to recognize a deeper humanity, and to feel connection, and to feel empathy, and truly understand, even if we completely and entirely disagree with the person, that doesn't mean we have to dehumanize them. We can actually feel and see and maybe even learn something new in the adventure of really listening, instead of being so quick to share with that person that we think they're wrong, or they're wrong because of this X, Y, and Z. So that will also help us not be as polarized. That will help us realize our shared humanity, even with someone that we maybe completely disagree with, what they think or what they believe. So, okay, from here, I'm going to talk about shared reality. And let's actually save. I'm going to save shared reality for after addressing some of the follow-up conversations that I've had about Israel and Palestine, and I want to be very Israel and Gaza, and I want to be very clear about the side, if I could say side. I see some people choosing a side, choosing Israel, choosing, in some cases, Gaza, and the side that I stand on, as cliche as it may sound, is the side of peace, is the side of a peaceful resolution. I believe that it's possible. And actually, in the conversations that I had just last night, I had a conversation with somebody who gave me a theory, basically, on how that could be possible. Because at some point, and it's so hard for me to even say this, I think one innocent life is too many innocent lives. Nothing, one atrocity cannot be justified with another atrocity. And here's the two points that I want to make. From the narrative that I've been receiving, not saying whether it's true or not, or to what degree that it is true, because I don't know that. I don't know anybody. Maybe there's somebody out there that can know that or could share on that. But it seems to me like Israel's in a hard place. The attack on October, what was it, 6th or 7th? It's really, I think they're in a compromised position, and it's really hard to respond. And maybe to some degree, the people that attacked Israel were in a compromised position too. Actually, I'm pretty sure that anyone willing to do any of those things is in some kind of a compromised position to begin with. And again, to be very clear, there's a book, a very old book, that says 2 wrongs don't make a right. And I think that there's some deep, profound wisdom in that. I do not believe 2 wrongs ever make a right. And it can be like, what do you do? What do you do when your country, the community that you live in, has just been attacked? What do you do? It can be a challenging situation. And this is what I was bringing up to my dear friend that I was talking to yesterday about this. And he gave the proposed example of Israel deciding that they need to stop. They need to have a ceasefire because too many innocent people are being killed. And from there, if Hamas comes, this to me would be somewhat miraculous based on how I understand what Hamas is, comes and says, okay, well, we need supplies or we need help rebuilding. Hamas would have to fundamentally, as far as I know, change its goal from destroying Israel. And that's, as far as I understand, that's what Hamas, that's their goal. Can someone else tell me if there's a different goal for Hamas? Are they somehow attempting to create peace in some way that doesn't have to do with having to kill others? Am I mistaken about that? I might be mistaken about that, and someone else might know something about this that I don't know. So please, at any point during these videos of what do I really think, let me know if there's someone that I should talk to, if I'm missing something, if I haven't. That's why I'm doing these. I'm inviting more conversation, especially with somebody that doesn't necessarily agree with what I'm saying. Please tell me what I'm missing. Anyway, his example would be if they reached out and said, well, we need help rebuilding this area, then there potentially could be a peaceful solution. But continuing to kill and kill and kill and kill and kill, I don't see how we get a solution out of that. And further, I touched on this a little bit in the last video. I do believe that based on the definition of genocide, this can be considered a genocide. And I'm not doing that to try and make some kind of implicit connection between this and, for example, World War II or Nazi Germany. However, that was a genocide too. And as far as I understand, a genocide is a killing of a specific group of people. So I don't think that word is used lightly. And I do believe it does fit the situation here. And I do believe it could fit the people that were initially killed in Israel to begin with from that bombing. That's a specific group of people being killed. That sounds like a genocide to me. That's, as far as I know, what a genocide is. All right, so let's get on to shared reality. So, some thinkers and people in the world that speak on this call this group of people postmodernists, but I have the suspicion that somebody that believes the things that a postmodernist believes doesn't necessarily consider themselves a postmodernist. So I don't know how helpful it is to... It's not like I say postmodernist and someone goes, oh yeah, that's me. I think it's more subtle and tricky than that. And I think I've fallen into some of the postmodernist way of thinking. So I'm just sharing that with you to offer an understanding if you do know what that is. And you could look it up and see what some of the general beliefs are. But one of them is a belief that there is not a shared reality. That each individual, and that there's no, and further really what I mean is by no shared reality, that there's no fundamental or shared truth. And I would like to speak with someone to see how I am missing what I am missing here, if I am missing something at all. And I want to share with you where I derive my experience from. So, right now, and I invite you into this as an experiment exercise too, if you would like to. There is something that it is like to be me. There's a feeling of I-ness that's, it appears, is in the center of my body. And I'm seeing the world. That, the subject at the center of all 5 of my sensations and at the center of my thoughts. So this, what is at the center of that, I imagine, since that is all I really know, I know that this is, gets into my whole philosophy of beingness and consciousness, but it's my experience, and that's all that I ever really claim to know. I find that that's all that I really can know by, and I mean know as in know by my experience. Since that is all I know, and I live in a world full of others, I imagine that this experience, this subjective experience, does not have a limit or an end to it. And therefore, I imagine that you are experiencing the same thing. And I'm pointing to something so, I'm trying to be as fundamental and as simple as I can in saying this, because it's so simple that I might even overlook it. I do overlook it. I have overlooked it. And I'm not talking about some mystical experience here. I'm talking about what it's like to be me. I imagine that you have a same sensation. I mean, I don't know. I can't know from your perspective, but from my perspective, that does not seem to have a limit or an end, or I see no evidence for separation, extending. There's just the suchness or the thatness, the sense of being that I have. And since you appear in my subjective reality, I could say, it's, to me, only seems logical that you have that sense too. in your own way, but that you have, would you agree or disagree that it is something to be like you? And it's from that standpoint that's the simple basis, which to me is the fundamental, that's where unity, oneness, the recognition that we share, that we are all one, comes from. That's exactly what that is. There's nothing that I can see, that can be dangerous about that can be harmful. All I am stating here, my case and claim, and this is what all the different offerings and things I do is based on, is that we share reality together. There's not fundamentally, there's qualitatively different, like there's different qualities that appear, and it might be different for you to be you than it is for me to be me, but the essence of what we are, I mean, here's another way to think about it. Could there be anything other than the universe? And what I mean, my definition of universe here, is the all that is. Some people call it God. But everything that is there anything outside of that? Of course not. There can't be. Even if someone says, well, yeah, actually there's multiple universes. Okay, well then it's contained within the all that is, which is the universe. It would be a self-defeating definition if there were anything outside of the universe. All what I'm saying here is nothing can be outside of the universe. You can't be outside of the universe. I can't be outside of the universe. And therefore we're all one. We're interconnected. And I'm so passionate about this realization because the more people that experience this, that become aware already of what they're experiencing, the more peace there's going to be in the world. And if somebody disagrees with this, I would love to speak to that person. And that's why I'm saying things over and over again. I might sound like a broken record. I know I do. And defining my terms, because I want to be really clear on what I mean when I say, for example, universe or subjective experience. If I believe if you would agree that there is something that it's like to be you, then we have a ground for, oh yeah, there's something that it's like to be you, me too. And that comes from the same source of the material that is the universe, of whatever is actually true and real. You're that, and I'm that too, and we share that. Whether or not, like, I'm not talking about sharing as in like, you get 5 logs and I get 5 logs. Let's split it up. I'm saying that it's a shared existence. And it's very hard for me to understand if somebody does not believe that we have a shared existence, because I believe that this is experiential, what I'm talking about. And how can I deny my experience? Well, if I was blinded by dogma or beliefs, then I could deny my experience. And maybe I am. If I'm blinded by some kind of dogma or belief in this, I would like to know. And I will ditch a belief if I find out, whoa, I was subtly believing in this thing that I didn't even know I was believing in. And then someone comes along and points out as to, in my direct experience, how I'm buying into something that's not actually true, then I will ditch that. I'm a fan of what is true and what is real and what I can experience. And a lot of this it is what some people consider to be Socratic, because there's the one truth, which is the truth of suchness, thatness, the truth of existence, the truth of being. That is the only truth I feel that I can actually put my faith in. And then everything else, even though to me everything is a manifestation of that one truth, all of that, everything else is relative. So I cannot make a claim. Everything else is relative in a sense that what I believe I shared this in the last video, the source of consciousness, scientists don't know what that is. and scientists don't know what the nature of anything is. So because these we can describe patterns, we can say, oh, electron there, proton there, but that's really just describing a pattern. It's not saying what it is. But I'm not denying that it is, that I am. There is a that I am here that I believe all beings are experiencing, since I'm experiencing that. But the nature of what anything is, that's a mystery to me. Absolutely a mystery. So there's a lot of unknown. I'm only putting faith in pretty much one thing, and then let's take it from there. Okay. What else? And again, my emphasis on this experiential sharing of reality is that when that is known, recognized, remembered, that will create more peace. And that is my contribution. That's what drives me, what brings me alive, what I enjoy most. So that's not to mean this is an assembly of an army of everybody doing what I'm doing. No. I believe that everyone has their own unique way of contributing. And to give an example, perfect happiness can be found by being a baker who bakes bread. This what I'm sharing is no greater, no less. That experience of, oh, I'm baking bread for me, other forms of me, other people. Oh, wonderful. Here's some. And this is not panpsychism either. This is what can be known as, it does fall under the category of pure non-duality, the non-dual philosophy. That simply just means we're all one. That's all I'm pointing to here. And this is what pulls me, sharing in these things, having conversations about this, coaching, programs, things like this around this. That's my contribution. Some people bake bread. Some people make desks. Some people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this can be found in any of those other ways, something like that. To circle back on the point about conversation, I know this isn't a conversation, obviously, it's a very one-sided video here. However, it can be, as I'm inviting conversation on the podcast or in the comments below. So please, I'd like to make it as conversational as possible. I do believe that is, if we can find and actively reach out to other people that do not share the same beliefs, experiences, values, ideas, religious or otherwise, being in dialogue with each other to really understand each other, I think there's a lot of magic. I think there's a lot of magic to that. What do you mean by this? What does that mean to you? Because a lot of the trouble that I feel like humanity has gotten itself into comes to misunderstanding, not perceiving clearly, not understanding ourselves, not understanding each other. And in slowing down and through listening and being present with each other, I think a lot of the peace can be found there. I'm giving it a few more moments because I know last time I ended the video a bit prematurely and I felt, man, I wish I spoke on that. So All right, I think that's a wrap for What Do I Really Think? Version, second week of this. Please let me know once again in the comments if you agree, disagree, what is your experience? If you know someone that is well researched and is willing to talk. That's the thing. I think that's the thing, is it's encouraging a willingness where there might not be a willingness. And this is the other thing that has been a battle for me. If I'm entering into a conversation and I have the idea that I'm going to convince someone of any of the things that I shared with you here, and that's what's driving me, in a way, if I have an agenda, I believe that can interfere with my ability to actually be present and listen to the other person. Whereas if I'm attempting to just meet the person exactly where they're at and meeting myself where I'm at, instead of bringing this agenda of, I know I'm going to convince someone that of the stuff that I just said here, there's a degree of letting go of, for me, the desire to do that. And I can share my views to see what the other person thinks, but to not be attached to somebody else believing what I believe, because I think that's, again, where we get into trouble. So it's kind of an art. I'm still mastering it, in the stages of mastering it. And up front, it can be one of those things where it's like, why would I seek out somebody that doesn't agree with me and try and see if they would be willing to have a conversation with me, and then put in the effort to make sure that this person is well versed in their whatever it is. And I believe that them being well versed, there is going to be a more, maybe a higher likelihood that they'd be willing to. No, that doesn't make sense exactly. I was going to try and draw a correlation between someone's willingness to speak and their willingness to hear a different opinion or a different set of beliefs. I just think it can seem challenging at first to get oneself to make the effort to invite a conversation with somebody that disagrees, because that's probably, if someone disagrees, it's probably what we don't want to hear. But maybe there's value in hearing what we don't want to hear. Maybe it's valuable to understand deeply instead of just categorize someone and not talk to them. That's essentially what I'm encouraging. To me, seems like it can help create more peace within our own lives and in the lives of others. All right, ramble complete. Thank you for tuning in. Awakening the Heart of Service, the men's program. There's still an early bird special ending in December. The information for that will be in the link. Heart of the Matter, that's also launching very soon. All the dates for that and ways that you can join live in meetings will be found below. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. What do I really think?